I have to turn the mic on because it's working. Welcome everyone. It's going to be time to start the meeting. It is now 6:30 and open session will be called to order. Jeremy, would you like to lead an invocation?
Yes, let's do a little bit different with our moment of silence. I think it's definitely noted that we have a lot of storms going on in the country, especially folks stuck in Florida. We even have some Canyon Lakers that are stuck out there. So let's have a moment of silence and think of all the families, and obviously we'll be praying for them as well. Thank you so much. Dear Heavenly Father, you know, a lot going on in the country, Lord, with the elections, with the storms, everything that's happening, Lord. I just ask for peace. I ask that you be with the families, Lord, as they're going through very difficult times, and you provide for them, Lord, and give them the resources that they need to get out of the terrible situation that they're in, Lord. Please just protect the families and be with them, and let us continue to do good things here in Canyon Lake, Lord, and be as supportive as we can, and if we can and when we can. And in your name, amen. Amen.
Aaron, can you lead the pledge?
Absolutely. Put your hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have the roll call?
Councilmember Castillo. Here. Councilmember Dane. Here. Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Terry.
Here.
Mayor Welty.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, City Attorney, could you report on closed session activities?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. There's no reportable action out of tonight's closed session.
Thank you. Thank you. Tonight we have some ceremonial matters I'm excited about. We're going to start out with Citizen of the Month, and October Citizen of the Month is Callista Grande. Tonight we honor Callista for her contributions to the city of Canyon Lake. Born and raised in southwest Riverside County, Callista has spent her entire life in the area and has called Canyon Lake home since 2018. She's a devoted mother to 3 children, Zane, Odessa, Malaya, and a proud grandmother to her son, Zane, too. Callista, say the second. Okay, to Zane also. Okay, Callista's dedication to the community is reflected in her active involvement. She's Director of Philanthropy for the Junior Women's Club, board member of the Women's Club, where she leads publicity and communication, former Director of Events for the Chamber of Commerce, where she served for 1.5 years and continues to volunteer. She's a member of the Young Old People's Club and a member of the Mermaids Club. In addition to her club affiliations, Callista is passionate about philanthropy and continues to serve others beyond these organizations and always following her heart and giving back. And just a personal comment, my son did a little project about bringing little dolls and figurines to the children at the family court, and they went out to Facebook, and Callista brought one load, and then another load, and then another load, and then another load. She was relentless. So I just want to say personally, I appreciate you for that, because that was pretty incredible. So would you like to come on up? And here's your certificate. And would you like to say something?
All right. Yeah, no, I'm very.
I've never known her not to say.
I know I'm very outspoken, but not in moments like these. What do you want? Closer. Sure.
You want to do a photo real quick?
Gorgeous.
Thank you. The only thing I want to say is that I love this community. I do, like Mark Terry says, I think it's the greatest city in the world. And we have so much good here, and I'm very thankful to be honored. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Her smile haunts me at times. You know, you wake up and there's a big smile on your image, and oh, this is a smile. Me too. John says me too. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to a proclamation. Proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week, established in 1925, is the nation's longest-running public health observance. It takes place each year during the week of October 9th in remembrance of the Great Chicago Fire, which began on October 8th, 1871, and left 100,000 people homeless while destroying more than 17,400 structures. In 1871, 100,000 was a lot of people. That was a big town going down. This year's campaign is Smoke Alarms, Make Them Work for You, focuses on educating everyone about the critical importance of having functioning smoke alarms in their home. The campaign emphasizes 3 key actions: install, test, and replace. Install smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside each separate sleeping area, and on each level of the home. Test smoke alarms monthly by pushing the test button. Replace all smoke alarms when they are 10 years old or stop responding when tested. During Fire Prevention Week, Canyon Lake firefighters will provide life-saving public education to significantly reduce fire-related casualties. The City Council proudly proclaims October 6th through 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week and presents this proclamation to the City of Canyon Lake Fire Department in recognition of their incredible efforts. Okay. I think we should get them all up here, don't you? Yeah. We want all our firefighters to learn to depend on that. We're all good.
Do you want the mic?
Okay, the proclamation reads, whereas the City of Canyon Lake is committed to ensuring safety and security for all those living, working, and visiting our city, and whereas the fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are in location where people are at the greatest risk from fire. Whereas roughly 3 out of 5 fire deaths happen in a home where no smoke alarms or no working smoke alarms, according to the National Fire Association. And whereas spreading awareness of this necessary step ensures your smoke alarms are working. And whereas these steps include installing a smoking alarm in every bedroom, testing your smoke alarms at least once a month, replacing smoke alarms if they're 10 years old and don't respond when tested, whereas smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in half, whereas smoke alarms are an essential component to fire escape plan. Whereas Canyon Lake residents should be sure everyone in their home understands the sounds of smoke alarms and knows how to respond. The Canyon Lake Fire Department is dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and education. Whereas 2024 Prevention Week theme, Smoke Alarms, Make Them Work for You, effectively serves to remind us of the importance of installing and maintaining and testing alarms in your home. Now therefore, let it be proclaimed that the City of Canyon Lake recognizes October 6th through 12th as 2024 as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Canyon Lake. In doing so, we urge all the people of Canyon Lake to focus on creating and regularly practicing an escape plan to keep them and their loved ones safe. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could make an announcement, we're also going to start doing free smoke detector tests at home. So if it's not working, we'll come out, we'll give it a test. If it needs batteries, we'll replace the batteries. We want to encourage the people to test their smoke alarms, make sure they're operating, because 3 out of 5 deaths that occur in a home are because of a non-working smoke detector. So we want to do our part to try to mitigate that. So we thank you on behalf of the fire department for recognizing this important week.
Thank you. We appreciate everything you do for us. And 60% and loss of life is a pretty big number, so let's get our smoke detectors tested. Thank you. You want to do it now or later?
Yeah, I think she wanted to do it now.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like the power?
You know, I'll do it right this time. We had everybody up there, so I thought it would be a good opportunity. Jeff, don't sit down. This is the second day for our newest employee, and so we are so honored to have him come on board. When Battalion Chief Mike Samuels left us back in July, I was dreading what are we going to do to find a replacement, because Mike was just an amazing individual, and I don't think we could ever replace him. But I didn't have to look very far to find a replacement. And I'd like to introduce tonight our new Battalion Chief, Jeff Roberts. There's a lot of people in the community that know Jeff. He has been with Riverside County CAL FIRE for over 30 years. He started off as a firefighter, was an engineer, was a captain, was a training captain. During that time, he worked at Ben Clark's Training Center. He taught in the Truck Academy, kind of ironic. I was one of the founding members of the Truck Academy. He taught swiftwater rescue and water operations, something that we hope to tap in on him very quickly as he comes into our department. When he was a captain, he was assigned to Station 94 right next door in Lake Elsinore. He's been to some of the largest incidents in Canyon Lake as part of that responding captain off of Engine 94. Back in the old days of Station 60, he worked out of our fire station, Station 60, as a captain. 4 years ago, he promoted to battalion chief. He was the battalion chief in Lake Elsinore and for Wildemar, and he would come in on incidents in Canyon Lake on a regular basis. His local knowledge, his technical expertise, his involvement in fire prevention is just going to be something that we harness, we embrace, and we look forward to our new future with Battalion Chief Jeff Roberts. So I'd like to invite his wife to come up, Melissa, who's going to have the honor of the time-tested tradition of pinning his Battalion Chief badge on him.
I'm actually going to have Kayla do it.
Nice.
Is this the one in the fire academy? So this is his oldest daughter, and she is in the fire academy at Ben Clark right now. She was an ambulance operator for the city of Glendale and is working hard to follow in her father's footsteps as a firefighter. So here you go.
So cool.
So again, congratulations to Chief Roberts. I can guarantee you his response times are going to be incredible. He lives in the lake. He's lived in the lake for over 20 years, and he is going to be part of our fire family, and we welcome him aboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Way to go, Chief.
Okay.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I want to say one thing, Chief. I had the opportunity of hanging out with you before you came on board, and I'm really excited that you're here. I really am. I know that you might be showing up to 911 calls in a golf cart, which will be a little bit different for us, but we'll appreciate it because you'll be there quick. But your experience just in the region, coming to Canyon Lake, the residents truly don't know how lucky they are to have you as our BC. So I just want to say that personally. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Mayor, if I may, we have one additional presentation tonight. We would like to honor Lincoln Kingdon from Temescal Canyon as our Student of the Month for the month of September. Lincoln, if you would come up, please. Our Councilmember Jennifer Dane would like to give a presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Lincoln Kingdon and I'm a senior at Temescal Canyon High School. I've lived in the lake my whole life. My mom moved here, I believe, in 2004. And at TC, I've been in the welding program for all 4 years. I'm a varsity football player, varsity track and field thrower. My cumulative GPA is a 3.7, and my plans after high school is to go to San Joaquin Valley College in Ontario, California, to learn the HVAC trade. I look forward to working in this community after I graduate because I love it here so much and everyone around here. Thank you all for this opportunity and having me here today.
I have just a couple other things to say. Our Student of the Month presentation that was supposed to happen in September happened yesterday because of the fire. So this was our first one of the year. So Lincoln is one of the first awardees of the year, and he's a football player. I don't know if you said that. And one of the things that Coach and Principal Hill said about him is that he's such a encouragement to the underclassmen. So he's the unofficial captain, and I may get this wrong, but leader in forced fumbles last year. So football people, I think that's great. And
There's one, that's one.
There's one fumble.
wait,
See, he's already
That was
caught it.
unforced.
Good job. Well done.
and very happy to have Principal Hill here for the first time for our Student of the Month, and Lincoln's parents, Kathleen and Chris. So congratulations, we have another certificate for you. for your student of the month.
Thank you very much.
And a little gift. So
Awesome.
we love out of these Student of the Months, out of 20,000 kids in the district, there's about, is it eight kids a month win it. So it's a very big honor, and in our little city of Canyon Lake, we're very happy to have one of our own as one of the honorees. So congratulations.
Get the parents up there. Parents.
Come on, Mom, Dad.
Parents,
Need
mom and dad.
Mom and Dad's buying you dinner tonight. Hey, congratulations.
You guys did work to help.
Congratulations.
Good job. We approve.
Yeah.
Nice to see that.
Sir, how are you? Thank you for coming. How are you? Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
I love Students of the Month. It's always, makes you feel like there's a lot of optimism coming our way. Okay, moving on to community reports. The Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District update. Jeremy, did you?
Yes, Darcy, so last month, she was talking to us about impact fees. So she just wanted to let me know that it looks like her board will, they thought there was a decision made, but it looks like they're gonna open it up for discussion and continue moving forward with possible different options. So she wanted me to say that, so it's not dead yet, I guess. Good news. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Canyon Lake Property Owners Association, Board President Bill Van Vliet.
Mayor Walty, council members, staff, it's been a while for me, and good to be back. First of all, I want to start off and congratulate you on a very successful State of the City event. The event was great. It was a great turnout. We saw a number of people from all around the region, and the video you guys produced was very professional and very well done. Gave nice color for our community, so I want to congratulate you guys on a job well done. Last week was a very busy week for all of us. In addition to, we had a board meeting, we had State of the City, we had a car show, which was very successful. We had over 200 cars there as well. I know Mayor, Jeremy, you had a couple of cars there too, and so that was, it's always a great event. It was a little toasty in the afternoon, but if you got there early, it was very, very well done. Also, on the same weekend, we had our city golf tournament. And again, very well turned, a lot of people turned out, great event, and we appreciate the fact that the city, the water district, and POA had teams competing in that, so great event for everyone. At our board meeting last week, there were kind of two significant achievements. The first one is we passed a resolution to remove some very old and antiquated language in our bylaws. And what they do is the bylaws state that there's only one prime member allowed per property, and it defaults to the husband. And that, although that has not been our practice for many years, it's still in our bylaws. So we cleaned that all up and said it is now up to the members. They can choose, if it's a joint tenancy, you can choose whichever member you want to be the prime. And if not, it'll default to whoever's the first person listed on the title. So about time we got into the millennium as far as that goes, and changed all of that kind of language. The second thing we did is we passed a number of consolidation of our rules. And many of you know we have many pages of rules. I think 180 pages of rules. That's to keep everything going. And we reduced it by about 10%. But there are a lot of duplications and duplications and redundancies that we've passed to clean that up. So that was that. Looking ahead, I want to remind everyone, Halloween's probably the next big event that's coming up. One of the practices that we put in place for almost a year now is that we restrict entry of service providers. And that's had a big impact. Had a big impact on the 4th of July. It's had a big impact on all of our major events. And so I want to remind everyone that if you do need a service provider in for food or whatever, that you have to call them in as a guest. But it has substantially decreased our traffic in. And other than that, any questions for me?
No. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and Canyon Lake Chamber of Commerce, Board President John Grande.
So you guys get two grandes up here tonight.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, as always, it's an honor to be up here to address this fine board. As always, I'll be very brief. About a week and a half ago, we had our second annual Battle of the Businesses. We had so much fun, and we kind of dodged the big heat waves that were coming and going. We were like smack dab in the middle, right after one and before the other started. It was still pretty warm, but survivable. The winning team was touchless boat covers, and I'd also, if anyone's listening at home or here, always want to thank our volunteers. We really couldn't have done it without everybody participating. Wanted to thank the fire department for letting us borrow their training rope for the tug of war events. And overall, it was a lot of fun. Community came out, cheered on their favorite teams, and can't wait to see this event happen again next year. Last week, of course, you guys, to someone else's point, put on a great State of the City event. Chamber was very proud to participate and help set up and guide people around. It's always a fun event to attend. Coming up, Saturday, October 26th, is our annual Parade of Frights. And we're going to do a couple things. We're not changing a lot, but we're adding a couple things that are going to be terrific. About a year or so ago, I was having a conversation with Chuck Golding. A lot of us know Chuck. And as it turns out, he was on the original board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And he's the one who told me he came up with the idea of Parade of Frights. And the reason why they did that was not a lot of people in Canyon Lake knew about what businesses and services were available in the town center. So what better way to do it is to have all the kids coming with their parents to trick or treat from business to business, and that's what introduced them. And so what we're going to add to that, because Callista and I were having a conversation and along with the board, saying, you know what, we have more than a few businesses that are not in the town center, either over at Eastport or home-based businesses. So we're going to give the opportunity for those businesses to sit at a table and also hand out candy. So we don't want to limit to just town center people. And this is a huge event. The other thing we're adding, I'm glad that Troy's here, or did he leave already? Oh, he did left. Okay. So one of the things we're adding is going to be a doggy costume contest. So Mayor Welty, Councilmember Dane, I know you two definitely have dogs, but bring them down. And the reason why I mentioned Yard Fresh, it was their idea, and they're going to be the judges of the event. So in addition to all the kids marching around and parading their costumes. You gonna bring Z2 here as well? That's my grandson, by the way. So that's right, that's right. The other event that's coming up is going to be our monthly business roundtable. That's going to be on the 7th of November. It's always the first Thursday of the month. It's going to be at Magnolia Room, which is in the basement of the Country Club. We run it from 7:15. We're very good about having everybody out by 8:30 so they can get to get to their days and their obligations. I'm very proud to announce Erin's still here. So Erin Adams, who's on our board, but also of Queen of Fun Travel, she's going to be doing a presentation on, I know you told me.
The importance of travel insurance.
There it is, the importance of travel insurance. So especially for those of you who travel on business or even on pleasure, I think it's going to be a valuable thing to come and take a look at. I think that's everything I got for you today. Any questions? All right, right on. Thanks.
Wait.
Yes.
Are you going to be for Halloween?
Oh, I don't know. That what she just said, yeah.
Smart man.
That's right, that's right. Any other questions?
No, appreciate
All right,
it.
thank you, everyone.
Good job.
Thank you. We have anyone from Lake Elsinore Unified School District out there? No? Okay, moving on. Public safety updates. City of Canyon Lake Code Enforcement. Ruby, would you like to come up?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and staff. I will be reporting on the month of September. So we had 2 unpermitted construction violations, 1 MPDS. On BLM, we had 13 unauthorized vehicles, 4 citations were issued, 14 verbal warnings were given. 1 overnight parking in the town center, 1 unauthorized vehicle parked for sale, and 3 abandoned or wrecked vehicles were issued notice of violation. 2 unpermitted signs. 2 administrative nuisances, 2 short-term rentals were found, notice of violations were issued, and they since have complied. Downtown residential rental registrations, we have a total of 362 registered rental properties, 344 renewed, 18 are pending renewal. 18 new unregistered properties were found, 7 inspections were conducted in person, and 15 self-certifications were completed. And down to our business license, we have 7 new commercial business license registrations, 3 new home occupations, 9 out of city, and 1 renewal. And that is all I have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, Ruby. Appreciate you.
Riverside County Sheriff Department, Captain Rails.
Hey, Captain, how are you?
Good evening. Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. Happy to be here today to present to you. I have 2 quarters worth of stats to do on the presentation. Since I missed the last meeting, it's going to be April through September is what it's going to cover. If I can figure this out. All right, there we go. All right, the first slide is going to be calls for service. And this is for the 3 months of April, May, and June. Total calls for service in April were 382. In May, it was 416. And in June, it was 360. If you look at the gray bar right underneath those, that'll show you the calls for service from last year. So you can see that April was a little bit higher. May and June was actually lower this year. And we broke down the calls for service in the bars down below. The first bar is midnight to 6 a.m. Next bar is 6 a.m. till 12 o'clock noon. The next bar is 12 o'clock noon until 6 o'clock at night. And then the next bar will be 6 o'clock at night until midnight. So as you can see, most of the calls for service in those 3 months are going to be from 6 o'clock at night till midnight. The majority is going to be from 12 to 12.
And that's calls for service plus self-initiated?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Next slide will be the months of July, August, and September. In July, almost even with 498. August, 395, also really close. September, 350, which is down quite a few from the year prior. As you can see, in the bars down below, we're almost in the same situation where most of your calls of service are coming from 6 o'clock at night till midnight, or your self-initiated calls. Next slide will be all the arrests made in the city of Canyon Lake. If you look at April, in the green, that will be 6 felony arrests in April, 3 the prior year. In May, we had 4 felony arrests and 3 the prior year. And it flip-flops in June to where we had 1, but we had 2 the prior year in June. Misdemeanors are on the other side with 4 in April, 7 in May, and 2 in June.
I have a question. Are any of
Go ahead.
those warrants or
That's every arrest.
just
Anything
so
from
whatever?
warrant to on-view arrests, any type of arrest. That would not be arrests that were made from investigations. Those are standard a little different. These would just be patrol-related arrests. And if you look at July, we're up to 8 felony arrests, 2 from the year prior, 2 in August, and then 1 in September. And in July, 7 misdemeanor arrests, 3 in August, and 2 in September. And you can see that July, obviously, because of July 4th, a lot going on, we're going to have more arrests that month. Next slide is your Part 1 violent crimes for April, May, and June. In April, we had 1 assault. We had no robberies, no sex crimes, no homicides, same as prior year. In May, we had 0 violent crimes, 2 the year prior. And then in June, we had 2 assaults, 1 in 2023. Most of those assaults, I looked them up, most of them were related to domestic violence. Very, very few are actually assaults that are out on the street, in the parks, that type of thing.
Captain, I'm sorry,
Yes.
can I back you up one slide?
Sure.
Just have a quick question. In July, wasn't there a DUI checkpoint in July?
Yes,
Was
we
that in
did.
July?
We did.
So would that probably account for the higher numbers?
I don't think we had any felony arrests at that checkpoint. I think we had 3 DUIs, so 3 out of those 7 misdemeanors would have been from the checkpoint.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, I thought we didn't have any arrests on 4th of July this year. Didn't we say that?
Well, that would just be for the month.
For the full month?
Just for the full month. So right around that weekend, because we have the extra deputies here from Friday all the way to Monday, so during that weekend, there's quite a few arrests. But yeah, actually on the date of the 4th, yeah, we did not have any
Is
major arrests.
that, Councilwoman Castillo, I think it's a record for us, right?
Yeah, since I've been here.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Way to go.
Yeah, it was a good 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, so that covers April, May, and June. We'll look at violent crimes from July, August, and September. We had 2 assaults in July, 1 robbery, 2 sex crimes. You're probably wondering what the robbery was, and that robbery was at a party. A lot of drinking involved. Some people got into a fight, pushing, shoving, and a cell phone was stolen.
Wow.
So that's where that robbery is. So it wasn't somebody at gunpoint, that type of thing in the town center. It was actually at a residence. The 2 sex crimes, most of those are investigations, is still investigating those. So those could change once the stats come out. So that covered July and August. We had no Part 1 violent crimes, and in September we had 2 aggravated assaults. Let's look at our property crimes. In April we had 3 thefts. Larceny is a theft, so we had 3 thefts, 1 vehicle theft. Almost the same as the prior year with no vehicle thefts. In May we had 2 burglaries, 2 thefts, and 1 vehicle theft. And in June, we had no burglaries. We had 3 thefts and 3 vehicle thefts. Look at the property crimes for July, August, September. In July, we had 9 thefts. 5 the year prior. We had 5 in August, 3 the year prior, and then 4 thefts in September. And actually, going back, we had 1 burglary in August. 1 vehicle theft overall, which was in the month of September. So that covers your Part 1 crimes. Let's look at average response times. In April, priority 1 was over 8 minutes, priority 2, 29 minutes, and priority 3, 33 minutes, and then priority 4, 37 minutes. Looking into May, yes, that priority 1, 19, just over 19 minutes. I went back and looked, and there was one call that skewed that entire thing. And what it was is it was a medical aid overdose that should have been changed. The call for service should have been changed by the deputy as far as what it was. They should have changed it to an AOD, which they did not, so it stayed a priority 1. That would have slipped it down to a priority 2. And that would have brought that down probably back in that range of 8 minutes. So looking at June, 8 minutes, 28 seconds, and then the priority 2, just over 20 minutes. Looking at July, same, right around 8 minutes for priority 1. Same for priority 2, right around 29 minutes. August, just over 8 minutes, and then just under 8 minutes in September for the priority 1s.
Is it weird, Captain, to see priority 3, priority 4 be less than priority 3 for the month of July?
Yeah,
just a protocol thing.
Priority 3 and priority 4, it's not a big difference.
Yeah.
It just matters what it falls as. Obviously, priority 1's our highest priorities, and that's why I'm focusing on that. Priority 2 is our next priority, but that deals mostly with property.
Yeah.
So I'm more worried about the priority 1s,
Yep.
which it's a little high right now. I'd like to see it, normally here it's in the 7 range, 7.5 range. I've done stats for all of our cities and our county areas lately, and our priorities were up a little bit for priority 1s. I don't know if that's related to the fire, if it skewed it or what happened. But here we don't, it didn't change our staffing levels, so it shouldn't have changed here.
Got it.
So we might not have had as many deputies coming in backing up if we needed to on a priority 1, but it's a little bit higher than normal. Nothing to be alarmed at, but, except for the 1, but it's just skewed from that 1 call. Here's our traffic-related stats. We had a total of 11 collisions in April. We had 1 citation written in April and 1 DUI. In May, we had 6 collisions. We had 2 citations written and 2 DUIs. In June, we had 6 collisions, 38 citations, and 3 DUIs. So you can see it's quite a bit up in June. You're going to see the same thing in July. We had 3 collisions and 36 citations, 4 DUIs written. We did have the checkpoint that month, so that's the reason that is up. In June, I had a couple of deputies that were out here, and I pushed them heavily towards that 4th of July weekend to do some traffic-related enforcement, which they did, and it brought that up to 36 citations. So that's why June and July, towards the end of June and the beginning of July is where we got most of those citations, which is over 70. August, we had 12 collisions, up quite a bit, and 1 citation written and 1 DUI. In September, 7 collisions, 2 citations, and 2 DUI arrests. And that covers all the stats for those 3 months, if you have any additional questions.
I have a question. The collisions, how many on Railroad Canyon would you guess?
I would say not. Most of them were inside the gate. Just from me looking back and seeing where the collisions were, a lot of them were minor injury collisions inside the gate. There was a couple on Railroad Canyon, but most were inside.
And they go slower inside the gates, they tend to, so the collisions are a little less.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's usually why they're less, yeah.
Less damage, less injury.
Less damage, less injury inside the gate because it is lower.
I have a question about that. Does that include hit and run?
Yes.
Okay. Because we have those.
Yep, that's considered a traffic collision.
Captain, can you help me understand a priority 2 call? You write pose or did pose immediate threat to human life or property. Could you give me an example of that? And the reason I ask is it would help me better understand about a half-hour response to a priority 2 call.
Priority 1 is your highest level of call. That is the same as the fire department when they're responding code 3 to a call with lights and sirens. So get there as quickly as possible. And it's usually somebody overdosed, there's a medical emergency, a baby's not breathing, could be a man with a gun, could be somebody armed, that type of thing. A family fight to where there's maybe a knife involved or a gun involved. We're rolling code to those. Anything below that, there's not going to be a code response. So it's going to be driving normal, obeying the laws of the road. And usually that's a lesser call to where it's usually not any injury to a person. It's going to be, it could be a fight. A fight's going to be a priority 2 unless there's maybe a gun or knife involves some type of weapon, baseball bat, that would bump up to priority one. But if it's just a fight in the street or an argument, that type of thing, that's gonna be a priority two. An alarm call at a business is gonna be a priority two. Those types of things. Burglary in progress could be a 1 or a 2, usually it's a 1 if there's someone inside the house.
On a priority 2, is it 1 officer, 1 deputy responding, or are you sending 2 deputies to that call?
It matters what the call is. Most domestic violence calls are a priority 2. We're gonna send 2 deputies on those. Robbery could be a priority 1 or 2. We're sending 2 deputies. Burglary is gonna be a priority 1 or 2. Usually sending 2 deputies, just to stabilize the situation.
I'm really not trying to press you.
Oh, no, I have.
It's my understanding
These are very
that
easy
we
questions.
have 1 deputy who is servicing Canyon Lake at any point in time during the day. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm just seeing 29 minutes, 26 minutes, and 25 minutes. Can you help me understand that time for a deputy who is, in my understanding, either in Canyon Lake or out at our town center? Is that the case, or?
If you look at all the calls for Cervic, it's pretty sporadic. If the deputy's on another call, on
Got
another
it.
1 or 2 priority call,
Got it.
he's staying on that call until he finishes it. Now, a priority 2 call, most likely, if it's not gonna be long, we won't send another deputy knowing that he's gonna be on that call, but it could be 10 minutes, which delays it. If it bumped to a priority 1 call, we're gonna pull another deputy into the city to handle that other priority 1 call, so you'll have 2 in here. But it's kinda, it's up to the decision of the supervisor to make those adjustments and bring additional deputies in.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain.
But that priority 2 is not, anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes is pretty normal for any city.
Excellent. Thank you.
And that's why our bill like kind of fluctuates, because every time we pull in a second deputy, we get billed line item.
Not, well, if you pull in a second deputy, if it goes over 30 minutes, then we bill. If it's under 30 minutes, we don't bill.
15 minutes.
We changed it to 30.
Oh, okay.
Changed it to 30. It was 15 for about a month.
Okay.
We were trying something new. It was too much for accounting and finance, and it kind of got convoluted. We switched it to 30 minutes, so
Okay.
every 30 minutes now it's.
We'd be willing to accept an hour.
So not too often. I mean, there is additional billing that happens, especially if you have a large traffic collision, and we have to bring additional resources into traffic control and that type of thing.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Captain.
City of Canyon Lake Fire Department, Chief Latendis, good to see you again.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City Staff, Jeff Latendis, your Fire Chief. And I'm here tonight to present not just the monthly statistics for September, but since we were dark in August, I'm catching up for August too. So it may take a little bit longer to get through everything tonight. So for the month of August, we had 86 emergency responses. 1 month later, we had 111, and so September was our second busiest month for this year, and one of our busiest months since the fire department started operations in January of 2022. In August, we had 6 fire responses, 56 medical responses, 1 hazardous condition, 8 service calls, 14 good intent calls, and that came to the 86 responses. In September, we had 4 fire responses, 73 medical responses, 8 service calls, 15 good intent calls, and 1 special incident. Our fire calls for the month of August, on August 3rd, we were part of a mutual aid or an automatic aid response to the 27-300 block of Jarvis and Meadowbrook. There was an approximately 1 acre brush fire there that our engine assisted on. On August 4th, we had a vehicle fire at the intersection of Sparkle and Canyon Lake Drive South. The engine compartment of that vehicle was fully destroyed. On August 6th, we had another vehicle fire. This one was in Meadowbrook in the 20,300 block of Mountain. The vehicle fire actually spread into the vegetation, and so it was a fairly large response for that one. On August 13th, we had an equipment fire in the 29,400 block of Stampede Way. That turned out to be a fire in a water heater. On August 16th, a structure fire in the area of Meadowbrook in the 22,300 block of Hyatt. It was a modular home with a fire in an attic or a basement crawl space. And then on August 17th, we had a structure fire in the 29300 block of Vacation Drive, and that was started by a barbecue on a wooden deck that started the wooden deck on fire.
So half of the fires in August were in Meadowbrook?
That is correct, yes. You know, it's interesting, speaking with Chief Roberts lately, he said with his tenure in Riverside County CAL FIRE, he ran most of his fires into the Meadowbrook community. It was a very active area for fires. Our September fire response is September 10th. Everybody knows this one. It was a brush fire. Our units initially responded to the Abrahill Ranch and Nicholas Road area. This was the airport fire, and our firefighters were part of Riverside County Task Force 2, and they were deployed for over 2 days to that incident. On September 13th, there was a vehicle fire on Highway 74 in Riverside Lane in Lake Elsinore that turned out to be a false alarm. On September 18th, we had a structure fire in the 29400 block of Stampede. It was an attic in a fire in an attic. It had potential to do some extensive damage. That happened at about 2 o'clock in the morning. The occupants were alerted by their smoke alarm, so kind of ironic, here we are, Fire Prevention Week. They got out. Actually their home had their smoke alarms connected to their alarm system, and the alarm company was one of the reporting parties. And then on September 30th, we had an equipment fire in 23800 block of Outrigger Drive, and it was again another water heater fire. Our time of day, it's kind of interesting when I watch the captain give his report. A lot of times when he's the busiest, we're the slowest. But you know, in the early morning hours, we have our slowest period of time. We peak up in the early afternoon and the late evening, and then in the midnight and early morning hours, we're typically a little bit slower. Here in August, you can see we're really slow in the morning hours and stayed fairly consistent throughout the rest of the night. During the month of September, this slower period stayed longer in the morning time, and then it really peaked about 6 o'clock at night, where over the month, 12 of our responses were in that time period. Again, we try to plan our responses or our training during the slower period so our activities are not impacted by emergency responses. Overall, as we look where the fires occurred, it's always consistent. The majority of our incidents occur in single-family residence. But again, during the month of August, we had 1 response to the fire station, and during the month of September, we had 2 responses to the fire station. So again, whatever we try to do, if we can get the word out, we're not always there. Please call 911 and the closest available resource will be dispatched. This is just again a heat map of the month of August of where our responses were inside Canyon Lake. A little bit different from the month of September. And then we look at our response times. During the month of August, our turnout time, and that's from the time we hear at the fire station of an incident until we actually go en route or responding to it. During the month of August, it was 1 minute 2 seconds, and during the month of September, it was 1 minute 7 seconds. To me, this is a little bit alarming. We want to try to keep that number below a minute on our average, 50% of the time. So we've already been working with our personnel on trying to keep an eye on this, try to understand what we're doing that's taking a little bit longer so that we can decrease it. Our travel time, or the time from going en route to arriving on scene, in August was 5 minutes 51 seconds, and in September, 5 minutes and 19 seconds. And then finally, the overall response time from time of notification, time of arrival on scene, August was 6 minutes and 46 seconds, and then in September, 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Again, what's important to us is 50% of the time is good, but it's not a good snapshot. What are we doing 90% of the time? Well, 90% of the time we're getting out of the station in August, 1 minute 34 seconds, and in September, 1 minute 44 seconds. So again, these are higher than we'd like to see. They are still below our goals, but we still want to try to improve on these. Our travel time in August was 7 minutes 56 seconds, and then in September, 7 minutes 59 seconds, and then finally, our total response time, 9 minutes 8 seconds in August, and then 9 minutes and 9 seconds in September. Automatic and mutual aid during the month of August, Canyon Lake responded 13 times into the adjoining jurisdictions. 12 were in Lake Elsinore, 1 was in Good Hope, and then 1 in Menifee. This year so far, Canyon Lake has responded to 91 incidents outside the city, 78 in Lake Elsinore, 7 in Good Hope, and 6 in Menifee. This is just a map showing where those incidents occurred during the month of August. And again, you can see where they occur. A lot of them are in the Meadowbrook area. We'll see in September that changed a little bit though. As we look at September, we responded to 22 incidents outside the city, 11 in the Lake Elsinore area, and these are the zip code areas, so I'll try to clarify that. 1 in Good Hope and 10 in Menifee. And then so far this year, including August and September now, we've responded to 113 incidents outside the city, 89 in Lake Elsinore, 16 in Good Hope, and 8 in Menifee. So these were the locations of where the incidents were, and you can kind of see a change this time that we went into Menifee a lot more than we have typically gone into in our previous months. So I don't know the reasons why, what was going on in Menifee, but they needed us more often in that area. And then just a detailed map of all of our automatic and mutual aid outside the city so far this year for the total of 113. In the month of August, CAL FIRE responded 7 times into the city, and during the month of September, they responded 8 times into the city. So far this year, CAL FIRE has come into the city 68 times to assist us on emergency incidents. This is the map showing where those incidents are. Why do they come in and help us? Well, we could have back-to-back incidents or concurring incidents, so we need help because we're committed to another call. There are incidents that require more than 1 unit, as you were asking about law enforcement, priority 1 and priority 2. There are certain medical emergencies, such as a cardiac arrest, that require 2 engines. And then if there's a traffic accident, depending on the kind of information they're getting, if there are people trapped, that will elicit a larger response of fire units. And then obviously structure fires will also bring in additional units than the 1 engine that we need. So that's why we use CAL FIRE on the 68 times thus far this year. Our training hours during the 2 months, we had 329 hours of training hours. To date this year, we've had 2,411. For the months of August and September, we focused on RIC training, or Rapid Intervention Crew. That's an example of what we did. We set up a prop. We make like wires, so if there's a drop ceiling that come down, our firefighters can negotiate it. Again, it's busy wildland time, as we saw this last 2 months. So we did wildland structural defense training. We did simulations on wildland. There's a new EMS program that we're learning coming from the county called Hands Heavy, and it is basically a better way to identify how to give medications and dosages to our pediatric patients. So we're going through that training. We did rope rescue training. Our reserves focus on emergency medical service training, blood pathogen training for all personnel, driver operator training, and then finally fire officer training and an officers meeting. Public education during the 2 months, we did the Taco Tuesday and the last one with the Maui Sunday. We were here for the City Hall groundbreaking. We had a team as part of the men's club golf tournament, and the firefighters were out there encouraging us. Wild 9/11 Patriots Day ceremony at City Hall or at the fire station was canceled. We had a private ceremony, and it was still very special and moving. We participated in the Kids Derby, Kids Fishing Derby, Harbor Fest, Battle of the Businesses, and then finally our daily interaction with the community. A significant event, kind of talked about it earlier, was the airport fire. And for those who don't know, it was started by county public works personnel in Orange County. It started on September 9th. On September 9th in the evening, all the fire chiefs in the county got on a conference call. We talked about available resources, what could we do, because the fire chief knew, Riverside County Fire Chief knew the fire was coming into Riverside County. Canyon Lake was able to survey all of our personnel. It's what we call a planned need. We were able to staff a second engine. We brought them in the next morning. We had 2 engines staffed, ready to go for a response, either inside the city or to assist in the fire. And then about 2 o'clock, they dispatched us as part of the task force. which included units from other cities in Riverside County. The crew was gone for about 2 days, over 2 days. They were pre-positioned in Lake Elsinore for structural protection, and we're very proud of their efforts. We're proud to be part of the community, the fire community, helping each other during a large incident like this. Still lost over 100 homes, a lot of those in the El Carrizo area in Riverside County. And so it's still a very tragic incident for our county. And so that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
I do. Educate Mark Terry Knight. What is a good intent call?
So a good intent might be someone thought they saw smoke, and they call us out there, and we get there and it's a barbecue or something along that line. That could be a good intent call. They call it in thinking it's an emergency. We get there, we find out it's not, wasn't malicious, it was a good intent call.
Thank you.
I feel good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Just a comment. The Canyon Lake Insider sent me an article that says MSJC is going to open a new paramedic training program. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's right down the street. Friday.
I got the same text, and so I think that's great news. Any place that we can get more of our local individuals trained in paramedicine. I think Supervisor Jeffries recently put out an article that talked about the critical shortages in public safety, in firefighting, in paramedicine, in law enforcement, California Highway Patrol, and anything we can do to bring more people into the profession, it's only going to help all of us.
It's just nice to see something within like basically e-biking distance from our fire stations rather than having to travel to Riverside.
We fully agree, and we hope there's some way we can partner with them in the future, bringing in reserve firefighters from there, giving them experience. We're willing to partner with them and help out as best we can.
That's awesome.
It sounds wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, that will end that section. Do we have any public comments?
Mayor, we do not.
Any, both on non-agenda and on consent agenda?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, council member reports. Anyone like to go first? Everybody's silent. They're going to let me do mine first. Okay, I had some meetings this week. I just want to thank the staff, the state, of the city. They helped me along. Just I have to appreciate that. Did I miss something when they did? Perfect. So I just want to say I want to appreciate that. Northwest Vector is working on a 5-year business plan, so I'm part of that group. We're working on that. I was able to attend Wildemar State of the City. That was a great experience. Leisure did a presentation about a week and a half ago about the alum treatment and the fish die that occurred in the spring. Didn't get a lot of great attendance, but the information was good. So just to be a heads up to everyone, next week, October 14th through 18th, they plan on doing another alum treatment. So just if you see that boat out there spraying unknown things out in the water, that's going to happen. So that's coming. One of the reasons that they're delaying the alum a little bit is they think that last fish die may have had something to do with pH of the water. So now before they do alum treatments, they're going to test the pH and make sure that there will be less or hopefully no reaction. And that's all I have. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
Well, I'll give an update if we're just going to do it that way. Oh, wait, you want everyone to give an update? You have stuff to say too, right?
Sure.
I'll be quick. RCTC, Holland Road, you all familiar with that? We got a bypass that's happening in 2 weeks. I think all of us got a calendar invite. That's going to be huge for the city of Menifee, so you can go over the 215. So that's happening, I believe at 9 a.m., October 22nd. The other thing, RTA, we went to DC 2 weeks ago. It was the first time we've ever did a joint trip with RCTC and RTA. I talked about it last month. Really good, productive meeting with Congressman, Senator, transportation folks. So trying to get dollars back to Riverside County. The big thing that is happening in transportation, as most of you are aware, is this whole electrical movement thing, and we're just not ready. So hydrogen's a big push of what RTA is doing. Another shout out, we have what are we, 27 days now away from an election. RTA is giving free rides to the polls, so pretty cool, countywide. So anyone can hop on a bus and get driven to a poll if they can find a route that favors them. Our CEO implemented that pretty much on her first day as CEO, so it's pretty cool to see that. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Mark, are you ready?
I am. My wife and I had the opportunity to attend the Riverside Recovery Resource Comedy Night. Riverside Recovery Resource is a 501c3, and they are a nonprofit organization that provides alcohol and drug addiction recovery opportunities. And it was a fantastic event. It was held at Lake Elsinore Casino, CJ's Bar and Grill, believe it or not. And it was completely sold out. And I don't want to make light of this, but to keep up with the comedy, they did have 2-drink minimum. But raised several $1,000s, and the 50-50 ended up going back towards the organization. It was a very successful night, and I'm very high on this organization and look forward to working with them in the future. The next time we meet, there will be a new president-elect. Is that correct? And I just want to remind our residents that not only as a U.S. citizen do you have the privilege of voting or the right to vote, but you actually have an obligation to vote. And it's an overused term when we say this is perhaps the most important election in this country's history, but I truly believe it. And I would encourage our residents to pay attention to not only the national election, but pay attention to your state election, your county election, your propositions. All of these things matter. And just in closing, I encourage you to vote and get involved. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone down that way?
Sure, I'll go. Great job to the city staff.
Absolutely.
On State of the City. Really enjoyed it. Want to give a shout out to our city manager. You're doing a great job. I'm just thrilled. Just want to tell you that. Additional update is in next Wednesday is the Inland Empire Bluebells Officer of the Year recognition, and for Lake Elsinore Station we get to recognize Rolando Lopez. I'm very excited about that as the 2023 deputy from that station, so we're excited to see everyone there for that. And the 24th is our Pumpkin Bash, which is going to be amazing and probably the best event ever.
Best.
Obviously. So no pressure, but going to be perfect. We do, you mentioned that we do have obviously the election. Not only do we have the state and city, but we have school board election going on too. Absolutely. So that's super important for our Canyon Lake kids. And that's all I have to say, but I'm happy to be here, man. This is a great city.
Councilwoman Day?
Already talked about Student of the Month, and we get 2 of them this month because we skipped last month. I did have my biannual SCAFA meeting last week, and for all of you watching, Animal Friends of the Valley, they do a presentation every time we have these meetings, and walked through the numbers of animals that were adopted during COVID, during 2020, and then the number of them that got turned back when people had to go back to work. So they're really looking for additional volunteers to help with the animals. They have a great reading program where kids and adults go read to the animals, and it's really sweet to see little 2-year-olds read to them and just talk about the pictures and engage with the animals. But they're always looking for volunteers. And please consider adopting if you're looking for a new pet, because they have plenty of animals. They do get a lot of support from rescues in the area. They work very closely with rescues to see if they can have the rescues foster the animals before they have to come back. And you know, there's lots of talk about inflation and the prices of everything going up. And if anyone is considering turning in an animal because they can't afford food, Animal Friends has a food bank that is available to all of our citizens that need help, and they can even deliver food if needed. If it's going to help keep an animal out of the shelter and keep it in the home, they're willing to help with that. So keep that in mind if you need a little extra help.
Okay. Thank you all. Moving on to the consent agenda. Any council member would like to pull a consent agenda item?
Yeah, I'll pull 5.
Any others?
I knew you were going to do that.
Okay, item 5 being pulled. Can I get a motion on 1 through 4?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Montague?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, do we have any comments on item 5?
Yeah, you think we were going to let you off that easy? We, as a council, constantly are communicating with residents, and the big question is why Aaron Brown? Well, Aaron, I gotta say, man, it has been a pleasure. What has it been? Is it 6 months now?
6 months.
And, you know, for me, seeing what has happened in the last 6 months, you know, we're going to talk about one of the big projects that we're working on later on in the meeting, but that's just one example of the things that we have seen just happen. And I just want to give kudos to you. There's no doubt that for me, I'm so happy that you're going to be our now official city manager for the city of Canyon Lake. You've definitely put us in a different direction than we were before, and we could not have done that without your leadership. Most people in the community don't know all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, but I can say in confidence that with you as our CM, we're going to get so many things done that should have been done in my mind over a year ago, but now those things are happening. So I just want to say thank you. You deserve this. We appreciate you. Thank you for selecting Canyon Lake as a place to be your home. Appreciate you. That's my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that.
I'll make a comment, and it's wonderful to see Aaron going from interim to city manager. It's just the continuity is important to us. Nothing like sitting on your seat wondering who's going to be the city manager in 3 months, and it's nice to let that go and let that come off everyone's back. And we're excited with the work he's done, and I totally think we're going to be excited with the work you do in the future. So,
Thank you, man.
You know, we're an aggressive council, and
I've been told that.
We are?
somewhat.
Kind of, sort of.
I think you're a perfect fit, not only for this council, but I think that you are a perfect fit for our residents here in Canyon Lake. And finally, somebody who kind of gets how we move and how quickly we like to move. I'm very appreciative that you're going to be our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
How does it feel to be the city manager for the greatest city on the planet?
That's right.
Like, I don't know what took me so long to get here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing to my earlier
sure.
shout out? City staff has told me that they are grateful that you are here. And when we think about, as a council, how we all fit together and how we are able to get things done because the personalities align, that's a big important thing. I think that you probably really can't put a price on. And so your leadership is important to us, and I'm just very excited to see this momentum continue.
Thank you, Councilmember.
I would agree with Casey. What you have done with our staff is phenomenal, and you can really see the difference. Their confidence, their enthusiasm is tremendous, and I know you have a big part of that. I know your ability to give responsibility to others, not because you're trying to dish responsibility, but because you're trying to mentor and encourage others with their confidence that they can do big things. And I appreciate that, and I know our staff does.
I would say the brass shines because it's brass, not because I polished it. So this staff, without them, I don't get this job. So all of my things goes to the team.
Huge shout out to Councilwoman Casey Castillo and Councilwoman Jennifer Dane for finding this man.
Fully
Thank you.
accept that credit.
Thank you. And you know, for me, I know that this is so important to Councilwoman Jennifer Dane, and I'm just so thankful that the two of you did the work you did, the due diligence you did before we interviewed him officially, and it made it so much easier. And so thank you to the two of you for putting a good CM in front of us. So I think they should make the motion in the second. It should be their thing.
I will make the motion, and before I say that, I am also very happy that you're here. I think you're a great addition to our city and are a big help to all of us. So thank you. And I will make the motion to approve amendment number 2.
And I second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Welty?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Okay, business item number 6, update regarding the police service assessment. We'll have a presentation by City Manager Brent. Would you like to go ahead with that?
I'm going to go ahead and delegate that to the trained professionals.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and City Manager Brown. Congratulations. John Sullivan for GPS Consulting. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes is give you a brief overview of the police services assessment Matt Rodriguez and I put together for the council. Essentially, we looked at various alternative courses of action for police services in Canyon Lake. We assessed the potentiality of including.
Mayor, can I interrupt for a second? I can't tell if the mic is not on. I'm not getting the audio. It's on.
Oh, it's on.
Okay, so just bring it a little closer. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'll get right up here. Okay, we assessed various alternative courses of action for police services, including retaining the Riverside Sheriff's Office, establishing a dedicated municipal police department, and utilizing external providers. The key considerations we looked at included community policing, technology integration, and organizational models. We looked at a couple potential external providers to include Menifee and Murrieta, although we did not make a determination of which might be the most desirable. The alternative courses of action that we essentially looked at were, number 1, the status quo, retaining Riverside Sheriff's Office. Number 2, providing enhanced oversight and contract compliance goals to the Riverside Sheriff's Office, or status quo plus. Establishing a dedicated municipal police department, looking at a long-term contract with an external police provider, including both police and community service officers. Looking at an interim contract with an external provider for the same. Establishing a hybrid service model, which would be an external service provider plus municipal paraprofessional providers that could be with the Riverside Sheriff's Office, or an external municipal provider. That could be done either in the interim or in the long term. And finally, the 7th, which would work with any of the above courses of action or goals, would be leveraging new technology and practice as part of any one of those options. And the examples might be utilizing drones as a technology and practice intelligence-led policing. So questions for consideration for the city council. 1, do you consider creating your own police department? If so, would it be a hybrid model, which, if you recall, our last briefing was employed in the city of Lancaster in Los Angeles County with some good effect, or a full service agency, which obviously would be more costly. Second, to embed it, would we embed the police department within a public safety department? And would that include integrating with code enforcement, animal control, community engagement as a function, or any others? And there are positive, benefits to that as well as drawbacks. Where would we focus if you were to establish your own agency, the public safety answering point or dispatch function? Would you continue to contract with Murrieta? Would you create your own? There's another options there. What would the future relationship with Riverside Sheriff's Office be? And whichever way you went, there's going to be a relationship with the sheriff. The sheriff's the chief law enforcement officer of the county. There are countywide functions that need to be provided. There's law enforcement mutual aid. Wherever you go, they're a partner. They're part of the process. What would the relationship with the Property Owners Association contract security be? If that is a key core question, whichever model you go with, to move forward. And then you ultimately need to select an organizational model. Is it going to be your own police, dedicated or hybrid? How would you do that? So moving on, in our written report, we put together a notional model for a Canyon Lake Police Department. Not assuming that you do it, but if you were to go that way, we determined that previous studies indicated that the average cost of a full-time equivalent law enforcement position in a region, including payroll and operational costs, is approximately $210,000 per annum. Using that model, we determined the city could build a 12-person department for an estimated annual cost of about $2,520,000. So it's probably in the range of possibility should you want to go there. The components of that model would be, and we emphasize it, community-based policing or community policing has to be the core foundation of what you're going to do. If you're going to do this, you're going to need to look at innovative staffing models, and I think in the report we suggested some, and we'll make some comments toward the end. Utilizing technology is going to be essential to leveraging all those capabilities. One example of a practice that could help and should be integrated is crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED, and one that I firmly believe helps you effectively allocate your resources whichever way you go is intelligence-led policing, which is in modern parlance being augmented with concepts called problem-oriented policing and evidence-based policing. They're similar, they're nuanced. Either way, intelligence has to drive your resource allocation. So what would we do? Community policing has to have active engagement of the community. Innovative staffing could include leveraging level 1 reserve police officers who have the ability to work independently, have the qualification through California Post. You could enhance it with volunteers on patrol and administer volunteers. For example, LAPD has an administer volunteer program, reserve program, that's like the best in the planet perhaps. Some of those things could come together. Law enforcement explorer program could be a way to leverage capability, get visibility out there, train a future workforce. Neighborhood and business watch programs are a hallmark of most modern policing in most cities, and I think even though this is a unique city, there are opportunities to do that as well. Technology. Drones, both unmanned aerial vehicles, or what they call UAS, unmanned aerial systems, could definitely be used. There are options to do autonomous systems. There are options to do hybrid systems that could be autonomous. You could fly them out or you could control them. They could give you visibility. They're a nice force multiplier. Escondido down in San Diego County has done a great job with those type of things. Automated license plate readers or something that could be integrated within that, expanded. They'd be added to patrol vehicles. Closed circuit television or video monitoring. Now videos don't stop crime, but they help you investigate crime and get a very good clearance rate down the road, and that's helpful. Crime prevention through environmental design, a core concept. One of the issues that we have heard that experiences the golf carts across Railroad Canyon Road. There may be design features to alleviate that problem that may mitigate some of the social engineering problems that you encounter. Intelligence-led policing, I mentioned knowledge-based policing, problem-oriented policing. Data mining is another core component there. And it's not just where your crimes have occurred and looking at hotspots, it's looking at who your offenders are so you can target that offender base and try to prevent their future activity. I think that should bring us toward the end. Concluding, we examined the current state of law enforcement service provision in the city of Canyon Lake. After assessing the current contract model with service provided by Riverside Sheriff's Office and several alternative provision models, we thought your options, key options, were retaining the current Riverside Sheriff's Office contract, enhancing that contract, particularly with enhanced, one option would be enhanced accountability, deeper relationships toward guiding, future priorities, or creating a new service model. Establishing a dedicated municipal department, either full service or hybrid, is within the realm of possibility. Contract law enforcement may be expedient. It could certainly do it. I come from a department that created the modern contract law enforcement model in the United States. It can be very, very effective, or it cannot. And if you've seen LA County, where I've come from, there are questions about how effective that is for being responsive to a community's need, for example, in the metro system. So that's a question to think about. If you were to contract, because building a police department takes some time. Contract could be either on a long-term basis or it could be interim. Interim might help you get to where you want to go, whichever way you choose. We do not offer a specific course of action because it's a public policy decision for the council. But we do believe that establishing a dedicated municipal police agency is feasible. The cost is there, the operational potentials are there. It's a decision that needs to be made and pursued with further analysis. You could establish an effective agency, either full service or hybrid. You could opt for a new contract law enforcement provider using either full service or hybrid, and that could be a step toward a full service agency, which obviously gives the highest level of accountability to your elected body. If you do want to move forward with any of the options other than what you already have, for doing this, we recommend a couple steps. You would need to develop a police service implementation plan. That would have to identify specific details and articulate an implementation timetable, how long you want to do it, and what order of battle do you want to implement the steps. You'd have to recruit personnel, and that's going to be, for any law enforcement agency, your highest cost and your highest area of risk, particularly establishing a chief officer and command staff, acquiring facilities and vehicles, material development of policies and procedures. You can't just cut and paste one from somewhere else. That never works anywhere, although people continue to try. So those are your options. I will say that in our offering the options, we're not being critical of any agency. I'll tell you, the Riverside Sheriff's Office, deputy sheriffs there are professionals. I've worked with them over the last 35, 40 years. They certainly are. But the question comes to what level of accountability and responsiveness best meets the needs of the city. As we've talked in the past, there is no one right answer, no one size fits all, and sometimes it changes. So the question is there. If you do move forward, you're going to need to do a really detailed cost analysis, really flesh it out, and then think of putting together a transition team. Whatever happens, the sheriff is a partner. I was a career deputy sheriff. Elected law enforcement officials have strengths, but the world is changing. There's reasons people opt to leave the county and create cities, and there are reasons for those models. Whatever you do, there's going to need to be an ongoing funding stream, and there are possibilities. And if I was to do the implementation study, I'd look at economic development as part of that. The city manager, we discussed those possibilities offline. That has to be part of it. Policing isn't separate from governance. It's an integral part of that. So that's our presentation. Myself and Mr. Rodriguez are available for any questions you may have. And I apologize for the snafu with the mic to start.
Any questions?
That's a lot of information.
Well, there's a lot there. The written report covers in a bit more detail. I hope you can hear. The written report has more detail. And obviously, if you were to go down any road toward implementation, obviously a detailed implementation study would need to be conducted, and that would be developed in conjunction with the city manager and his staff, and obviously a consultation.
I got a few questions. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate the follow-up, especially the way that the two of you decided to break up this conversation. I think last month we looked at the data and the statistics, and now we looked at a different approach of alternatives. In your research, there had to have been some common denominators, if you must, in regards to whether it's call time or types of calls or types of service that we need. In your experience, do you believe that what's lacking in Canyon Lake is a consistent presence, or is it the system that we currently have that's maybe causing some of the issues? What kind of feedback did your research show you on the needs and wants of what you think from a law enforcement standpoint Canyon Lake is needing?
That's a complicated question with no easy answer, but I will say that given the cost that you're paying, you could, for the same amount of money or not too much more money, enhance the level of coverage. And there are ways to do that flexibly. I think having, there's not a lot of crime in Canyon Lake. That's a good thing. I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing. I look at the stats here. When I was a watch commander in LA County, I had weeks that we had more crime. I had more admin investigations of my personnel than you guys are doing, and that's good. You don't want crime. Having full-time supervision out there is valuable. I think the model could support having, depending upon how you staff it, with 12-hour staffing, 12-hour models, you might be able to get a field supervisor out there in addition to a police officer regularly. I think you could enhance the number of people with using reserves. And reserves don't always have to be paid. There are models depending upon what you can negotiate. You don't have a union here, but what you negotiate, you could probably pay them as well. I think you could get more coverage. I don't think the quality of coverage you're getting is bad. I mean, it's certainly a professional police agency. They're responsive. They understand your needs. So I'm not critiquing the professionalism of any of my peer agencies. I'm saying that there may be more cost-effective models into the future that can be more accountable to the city council. They may be more responsive to the residents, but that's to be determined. And I think a further study could look at each one of those options at greater depth. We did a very quick deep dive over a couple-month period. Myself and my partner, Mr. Rodriguez, have a pretty deep level of experience in law enforcement, and I've helped build several contract models for LA County, including one that's in current times being reconsidered, and they're looking at establishing their own police agency. And I'm not going to second guess the Board of Supervisors and the Metro Board. It's their ultimate responsibility. But as they move forward, I would tell them what I'm going to tell you is do a really good detailed assessment. Look at what it means to yourself. Talk to your city manager. Talk to the residents. The residents have to be part of the consultative process. So obviously they're the decision makers, policy makers. But as you know, getting buy-in from the community is essential, and that's underpins community policing. But I think more resources and a more intense, focused responsiveness to your governing board would probably be achieved, could be achieved. But it could be achieved through modifying a contract as well, or your own agency. The hybrid model in Lancaster got the best of both worlds. They didn't get rid of the sheriff's contract. They added a directed patrol capability on top of that with a municipal agency to enhance the level of coverage. So that's why I think a more detailed study could help you better understand what works best for you.
We don't currently have CSOs. Do you see any kind of value in including them here?
I think CSOs give you some flexibility. Community service officers are used throughout the United States. They're used in Great Britain, for example, for non-high-risk calls, for report calls. The reports, afterwards of burglaries or vehicle thefts that don't put somebody at risk. They use them for helping do traffic control. And in the current environment where some people are skeptical of the police for some lower level ordinance infraction, or civil citation processes, similar to what, code enforcement officers use. I think they give you flexibility. There are civilian investigators that could do some of those things. You don't need to be a sworn peace officer with the incredibly, beneficial retirement. All the cops, we love that part of it, but the cost is high. I think community service officers, some paraprofessionals can help be part of the model that moves forward. But of course, that could be done in a hybrid model or could be negotiated with your current provider as well. But CSOs give you flexibility.
Understanding that the 2.5 million is an estimate, what's not included in that?
Well, obviously.
Probably a big question.
Well, obviously, you know, acts of God, you know, disasters, things that you don't know that are gonna bring greater, you know, demand on police service, those occur. Florida is probably considering that as an issue right now, and certainly with the enhanced risk of wildland fire and other things. So increased demand either in an extremist capability or should the population grow. If you were to annex unincorporated area, that would change those cost figures. If the sheriff and the board of supervisors of the county of Riverside decide to change their cost model because they want, or their liability risk pool figures don't work out right, that could drive up the cost of policing. Those things are volatile, but they're usually not short-term volatile. But there is always volatility in the provision of government service.
Did that include startup costs, or was that this is what the costing would be for personnel?
That's what the costing would be for personnel.
Okay.
The bulk of your equipment. The startup cost shouldn't be great. I mean, there's going to be a cost to an additional study. And I suspect it would be greater than for the initial police service assessment we did now.
Yeah.
Because it would be a great, higher level of effort, more work. You'd have to negotiate the terms. I mean, there's more moving parts to the implementation. But the implementation costs shouldn't double that. But there'll be implementation costs.
Can you elaborate a little bit on technology? You spoke about drones, other technologies, and what I find intriguing about that is it kind of increases your presence. Would that be correct?
Yeah, well, it can increase your presence because you can make them visible. Although I've often told some of my colleagues when they're like, we're going to put out decoys, I'm like, you know what? The criminal element understands a decoy. If you don't wash the decoy car, it's dusty, it ain't going to work. Cameras, there are people who think we're going to put a camera up, it's going to stop crime. Cameras don't prevent crime. They do enhance your, improve your clearance rate, which in the long term, has deterrent effect because you can incarcerate the people who need to be. They can provide visibility. They can provide enhanced sensing. And that's probably the best thing, because the most important thing, I think, and I spent the bulk of my police career doing intelligence, so I favor this, so there's a bias, I'll let you know. But good information allows you to make better decisions. And if I can understand the risk, I can understand where the crimes are occurring, I can understand the actors who are committing the crimes, I can understand the spatial dimension, the hot spots, are they there, what time these things are occurring, I can calibrate my response, I can get ahead of it. Using the drones are incredibly powerful. They sense, you can put cameras on them, you can put infrared devices, you can put motion sensors, you can put chemical sensors, automated license plate readers, and obviously those are not unknown here, but they can be placed on vehicles, they can help you search things, they can help you see things, develop patterns. You tie all those things together, and you can push them out right now onto an edge device. So all these things can be pushed out to a cell phone. You could monitor those yourself if you were so inclined, the city manager, although I would hope that you rely upon your command staff and your field supervisors, but you would have the ability to look at that when needed. And you will have times when you want to know and what to need for accountability. So it can help you get a better decision-making platform. And that's the real core. Because the one thing, and I've told this to more than one sheriff, more than one mayor, it's not just low cost. Efficiency is not just cost. Efficiency is effectiveness of operations as well. So sometimes paying a little more if you're getting better quality responsive service is worth it because you get what you pay for, right? But you need to calibrate that with your means capability. That's why we thought you have the foundation to support more if you want. The thing is, you don't just want to blindly put out more visibility because there's a concept called over-fortification. If you put a lot of cops out there, the public's like, why do we have all these cops? So you have to be subtle, right? That's why I talk about visibility has times when it's really good, And there are times like when you want to be really covert and be quiet, and you have to command decision on how you do that. And again, there's no one right answer because it's operational art, not science. But the better information you have, the better artist you can be.
When you're looking at our call volume and the type of calls that we're receiving here in Canyon Lake, the sheriff's department. I'm a huge advocate for the sheriff's department, what they do. Their model is very unique though in regards to covering different areas. And would you agree or disagree that if we had our own standalone department that response times would be decreased because we're not jumping over to Lake Elsinore or to Paris or some of these other areas that we currently are having our deputy go to back up type 1 calls?
That's a really complicated question. And what I think is good to back
I'm done
up
asking questions because they're too complicated.
No, I'm just qualifying because I'm going to give you a straight answer, but there's going to be contingencies. One is, yes, more presence should reduce your response time. So if you had 2 professional police officers out there on all 3 shifts, that it's rather than 1, that should lower response time, depending upon whether you put them in a 2-person car or a 1-person car, depending upon what's happening at that period of time. During the day shift, we do a lot of report calls. Having a CSO, community service officer, out there should free the I was going to say deputies have a preference over those years there, but could free your officers up to be able to be more flexible to respond. So the first blush prima facie answer would be yes, it should improve that, but not all the time, not every time, because there's going to be surge periods. And putting more cops out initially could give you what appears to be more crime, because you may be sensing more crime.
Yeah, that's what I think.
There may be leakage now, right? Because remember, reporting crime is only part of it. That's why when you want to do it well, you look at victimization stats as well, and they're collected in a different pool than your uniform crime reports, and you should look at both. And I found that when you do intelligence assessments, there's stuff that don't get in either. But generally, yes, you could get greater coverage should improve your response times. Good response times are important. Part of the thing is you want to have the good response times for the crimes that need it. Not every report call needs a cop there in 3 minutes.
Right.
So you set expectations. Some things you can take reports on the internet, create apps, and then for some property crimes, that may be even more acceptable to the public. I think, and maybe it's generational, a lot of police agencies now don't respond to non-injury traffic collisions, and they leave people on their own. That's never been the model with the police agency I came from. LA County Sheriff respond to all, and if another agency won't take them, we'll go take them. I think that's got value, but you have to balance that with the realistic expectation of the community and your need. But yeah, it should. I think the key is you could conceptually get not only better response time, I think you can get tighter supervision, because I think you could afford dedicated supervision. Deputy sheriffs and cops do a good job. Most of them don't choose this profession because they want to be slackers, but good managers, good commanders make sure they always do good work. So I think you get more accountability. That doesn't take away a relationship with the sheriff if you went there, because you're not going to create your own homicide. You're not going to have your own robbery detectives. You're not going to create your own SWAT team. I certainly hope not. Your own hostage rescue team. And there are specialty things. Bomb squad. You're not going to create those. So there's going to be an ongoing, whatever you do, whatever model, the Riverside Sheriff's Office is going to be a partner in policing for this community forever. So how you manage that is important. But I think that there's flexibility, there's options. The benefit isn't so much on the provision, because the public doesn't understand the difference between a deputy sheriff and a police officer. They don't know the difference between authority, they don't know what the uniform looks like, they don't know the difference between sworn and non-sworn. They don't like, some people love cops, some don't. What the public will recognize is when you're responsive to their need. And ultimately, policing isn't political, but I learned in my life everything's political. And when it comes to that, that's you guys. So providing accountability and responsibility to yourself is probably your most important consideration. next is responsiveness to the community, and the third is, a good professional public safety police presence, which not only for police, it has to integrate with property owners association contract security. But I think that's something that would have to be worked on, whatever model is there. And it has to work with their partners in the fire service and emergency medical services. And I don't know what your model on emergency management is, but it's gonna have to include that as well. Because policing isn't just crime, it's the entire community safety, but in partnership with all those other pieces. So I wasn't blowing you off by saying the questions are hard, it's just, I don't do sound bites.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have any questions from the residents?
Mayor, we do not.
Okay. Can we go ahead and receive and file this report? No votes needed?
No votes needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on to item 7, update regarding the council chambers renovation project, allocation capital funds for the project, and considering the award of change order for phase 2. Presentation by Director Borja.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City Manager Aaron Brown. Congratulations. I am bringing forward an update regarding our progress with our renovation project. Talk a little bit about some allocations that we're asking for as part of that project, and then talk a little bit about the consideration of awarding for phase 2 as well. As you know, since August of 26, I believe, we started our construction project for our new council chambers, antechamber, and break room. Progress has been exceptional, tremendous. I don't know how better to explain the workmanship, the communication we have had with Lowe's Construction. The work that we've done, the progress of where we're at with the council chamber room, with some of the finishes that we're already at right now, the progress of the antechamber room and the break room. Everything is moving well ahead of plan. I know we had a sort of a deadline to meet of December 6th. I think we're going to meet that relatively pretty easily. I can't give a date or a time because I don't want to jinx the situation. So right now everything's just moving extremely quickly forward. During as the project has been moving forward, one of the things that we've found was that we needed to provide exceptional backup or a generator to be able to facilitate outages if and when they do occur, or more importantly, in a disaster situation. As government employees, as a city hall, we are sort of obligated as disaster service workers to be able to maintain operation and help and provide our support to our first responders when those type of situations do happen. Knock on wood, they never do. They haven't since I have been here, so hopefully that never does happen. But it's important that we have a generation that we maintain operational at all times. I can tell you one instance where power did go out here. I don't recall how long that it did go out for, but being non-operational for a city is non-acceptable. So it's really important. In addition to the need for this generator too as well. As you know, we're looking into phase 2 of this project and moving administration staff over into our new location as well too. The generator will help facilitate not just City Hall, but that building as well. So it's important to maintain as much operational as we can for everyone that's kind of here. And that kind of leads me into phase 2. As you know, we had some of our challenges early on with our informal bids for our contractors. With how exceptional things have been going with Lowe's Construction, to me it only makes sense for us to look at an opportunity to utilize Lowe's Construction into phase 2 of this project. I think back in April when we adopted or approved the updated procurement procedures, it did allow us to expedite some of those needs in cases like this. So that does lead into us looking to give that local desire to our construction, Lowe's Construction, and requesting that City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all purchasing agreements and contracts in order to carry on to phase 2 of this project. Questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. It's great to hear that it's working out so well with one of our Canyon Lake residents.
Yes.
And I know he takes tremendous pride in creating our city hall in his home. So I love that.
I would happily work with Lowe Construction for every project we have. We're very, very fortunate that he is a local, because I will, when this is done, I'll brag to every city around that if they want somebody to take care of a job like this, we know who to send it to.
That's awesome.
And Mayor, if I could add to that, it's exciting to come to you and even say that we're talking about phase 2, because the original plan really was about phase 1. And so when we identified the need for the generator, setting and talking to Terry Shea, our finance director, those funds make sense coming from our CIP. That is capital improvement. It's there for the life of that thing. Chief and I have both probably seen them go 40 years or more, but they say on paper they last 20 years. So to have something like that, one of the things that's not mentioned in here that I'll be bringing either in a mid-year or in the next budget is adding something like Starlink, so that in the event that we had a true outage here where the power is out, the power is lost on some of our suppliers, we would have everything but water available at, and I mean running water. We'd have everything but running water available that we would have control over. We'd have control over that generator. We'd have control over the ability to connect to that internet connectivity. So in terms of service, we wouldn't care. We'd be open for business and just keep rocking. So this is a very important thing in terms of what's called survivability, but just means the ability to keep your business running day to day.
It'd be a huge asset to our residents as well in case there was a catastrophe.
Absolutely.
If I may, Mayor, can you give a little bit more detail where the initial funds came from for this renovation? Because I think that's an extraordinary story in itself, and and how we have been good stewards of that money and how we are extending that greater beyond what we initially thought.
Absolutely. So the city received ARPA funds like most other cities, and responsibly put that towards upgrading public safety, upgrading infrastructure, public safety. What was allocated from those ARPA funds was about $1.2 million in getting the drawings and going through what's called the engineer's estimate. This is how much we think it's going to be. The initial estimate was $1.2 million for what is phase 1. The team and I sat down, and we're fortunate to have Mike and our city clerk Cheryl, Jessica, and David, our building official. We sat down and said, what do we need, what do we not need? Specifying things like, you see these TVs in front of you. This is a perfect example. Those TVs are the same TV that you would buy at home. So when you spec a commercial TV, those TVs would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000 a piece. And that's because they are rated to be on for 3 years, 24 hours a day. I do not plan to be in a city council meeting for 3 years for 24 hours of those days. So it doesn't make sense for us to go to that kind of Taj Mahal model. And so we really looked at what we could do to get more for that money. And I'm so proud of the team that we were able to figure out a way to take that 1.2 million, and instead of just doing phase 1, and phase 2 was almost like a dream. Someday we're gonna. We've got a way here that we're going to get phase 1 and phase 2 completely done for, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's free, because as taxpayers, we all paid this money into the federal taxes, but it's not coming out of what was the general fund money from the city. It is the money that was provided to the city to be able to do things like this, and we are happily getting a lot of value out of that money.
And as a result, phase 1 cost approximately
$700.
Below budget.
That is well below
Extremely,
budget.
about $585,000 under budget.
And we went through phase 2 and we looked at everything of, okay, if we move this wall and not that wall, what does that save? We walked with the fire chief, been extremely helpful because he's also our fire marshal. He has about 17 jobs, so he walked with us and kind of gave us, this is what you need to do. This is a way to get what you need done. Been just instrumental in how we solve some of those problems and still maintain our requirement for life safety. So we've not taken any shortcuts or anything along that line. It's really just been how do we save money, and everybody knows it as value engineering.
So that leaves us approximately $570,000 to go towards phase 2.
Approximately 570, that's correct. We think, based on what we're looking at, because we would have, if council awards us the ability to do this, we would award that change order, and then we've got some minor things like data, and we've got Johnson Controls would need to move over our access control system. Minor things like that will fit in. We're estimating somewhere around $10,000 to $15,000 remaining, and we still got phase 1 and phase 2 completed.
And we're saving approximately $40,000 by moving our staff.
Correct, a little over $43,000 a year will be saved by moving this.
I cannot be more happy. I know that as a council that we have, when I first came on council, my good friend here really pushed me to make this happen. Was constantly asking me, as well as Councilwoman Castillo, what is the progress? And I cannot commend you enough for jumping on this as quick as you did, being as productive with this project as quick as you did. And to Mike, I know this is a dream of yours and it's finally coming true. Cheryl, I know you were involved from the very, very beginning. And on behalf of this council, but more importantly, on behalf of the residents of Canyon Lake, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to getting Councilwoman Dane on that dais before she leaves us. So I know that's a big goal as well.
That is absolutely the goal.
That's cool.
Very
That's
cool.
a good goal.
Good job. And to make sure we're clear about the generator process, unfortunately, is not a quick process. Purchasing the generator, piece of cake. We fall under the SoCal region of AQMD. We have to go through that process, get the permit completed, and once they give us the thumbs up that we can go forward with it, it'll be there. But the generator will be there long before we have the permission to do it. But there happens to be natural gas right by that generator, which, as you know, in this city is hard to come by. It just lined up perfectly. A natural gas generator generates far less pollutants than a diesel generator, so it's actually an easier process.
Cool. That's huge.
That's awesome.
Good updates.
Great job, Mike.
Good job, guys.
I think it's wonderful, because when we looked at this early on, and we had dreams about getting all this done, and we saw some of the initial price estimates, we're thinking, well, maybe 2034 we can save our nickels and we can get this done. And to see this coming in complete, phase 2 included early 2025, is amazing to me, and it's wonderful to see something that's going to be so great for the community, and something we're not going to sit in this council chambers and for the next 4 years go, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. No, it's going to be, we're going to tell you, it's coming in just a couple of months. So thank you very much. You and then Mike and Dave, Chief, Cheryl, thank you.
A year ago today, we never would have thought
No.
phase 2 was even in the picture. So look where we're at right now.
Do
That's
you guys
crazy.
remember how far away we were 6 months ago?
Oh, yeah.
Like it wasn't even real.
It was
There
pretty
was
sad,
not even
actually, to be honest with you.
an actual plan.
I remember when I got here, Mike, we were talking about it, I'm like, it's easy, we got this. And he said, Aaron, it's not easy. It's easy. We just need to do the job and we're happy to do it. And when you have a partner in a vendor like Low Construction, for us, it's easy. I haven't swung a hammer.
Good job. That in itself is a feat.
The mayor did.
The mayor.
A couple of us swung the sledgehammer.
You did. Madam Clerk, if there's no public comments, I'll make a motion if the mayor will let me.
Absolutely.
I second it.
Roll call.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane? Aye. Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Welty?
All right, just one quick thing.
Motion passes.
There's no public comments on this, right?
There are no public comments.
Okay. All right, wonderful. City manager comments.
Well, the first one is I cannot be more thankful for the opportunity that has been placed in front of me. And I say it again, to have a staff like we do here, a true team. You don't ever see a sports team have their coach, have their contract renewed with an "oh and anything" record. So we're winning because of them, and I probably should be careful because it sounds like drinks on me. So, but I think they're well deserved with that team. So thank you very much again.
Okay. The next regular city council meeting will be held on November 13th, 2024. And upon that, we will adjourn. Day 26. Day 26.